Energy drinks are so significantly inferior in comparison to caffeine pills. Like, they just impart a greater stress on your body, right? They are way more expensive, right? Last, they don't last as long, the crash is way harder, they're just a subpar experience. And today I had to stay up for longer than I would have wanted to because I've been really tired lately, I've been really sleepy, and I've just been wanting to just go to sleep way early or take long naps. But today I had to stay up because I was getting a delivery. And the delivery I was getting was this keyboard. Now, it might look like a normal keyboard at first, right? It might look like, oh, this is just any keyboard. But if you look at it closely, it has no markings. It's the fucking ultimate gamer power move, right? Like, oh, your keyboard has markings? I don't fucking need them. I don't need your markings. I can have a purely fucking black keyboard, and I don't need a fucking crutch like looking down at my fucking keyboard ever. And it has nice cherry MX browns, and it's a good keyboard. It's gonna be my go-to keyboard for the foreseeable future. Well, why did I have to switch keyboards? That's the next important question. Why did I have to stop using my old keyboard? Now, the thing with my old keyboard is that it's still functional, but barely. Look, if it also hasn't been cleaned in a really long time, but like, if you look here, right, I've been taking the keys from the numpad so I can use them on this keyboard. So just random keys or just random numbers, right? It doesn't work. The O key, which is the 7, right, has been breaking down, and it's bad. And the arrow keys, right, I spilled something and they were kind of fucky for a while too. So yeah, like, my keyboard has been breaking down for a while, and also the aesthetic that I really liked about it doesn't work on Linux. Linux kind of fucks the lighting settings up on it. So not having any lighting settings is actually an advantage, right? And it's actually what I want. And this keyboard just serves that purpose better. It's aesthetically way more pleasing to me because it's just all black, right? It's all black. And functionally, it's better because it works, right? There isn't anything broken about it. It's fundamentally the same keyboard, right? It's fundamentally like, it's not. There's no like significant difference. The shape is a bit different, but the switches are the same, right? It's laid out in basically the same way. It's not really any big type of change. But I wanted to really, really avoid a situation where I would have to spend a month or more without a keyboard. Because although this keyboard only took a few weeks to arrive, there was a really real possibility that I would order a keyboard and it just wouldn't get here for a long time. And by preemptively getting a new keyboard, I avoided that potentiality. So this keyboard should last me for at least a few years, and hopefully it lasts longer than my last keyboard. But even if it doesn't last that long, right, I'm still gonna get thousands of hours of use out of it, right? It's not like I uh, don't use my keyboard. So like, keyboards are the one thing that I can just spend as much money on as possible or reasonable and not feel bad about it, because the thing is that keyboards are the things that I use the most, right? There's nothing I use more in life than a keyboard, other than maybe my mouse, but that's really debatable. So when it comes to keyboards, I can afford to spend money on it, right? That's the one thing I'll spend money on. Like, I've been wearing fucking just pants with holes in them for the past few months, and I haven't been like, oh yeah, I need to change that. But like, the moment my keyboard started breaking down in a significant way, yeah, time to get a new one, you know? That's just how it is. That's just how it is when you fucking live the gamer life, right? When you live as a fucking gamer. Fucking gamer rights. Shouts out my gamers. You're fucking. You're the only people keeping it real. All the other niggas are fake. My gamers, fucking keep up the good work. Just fucking play your games. I'm so fucking tired. I'm so happy I can go the fuck to sleep. Why have I been so exhausted? Well, the answer to that is manifold. First, it's the winter, and I tend to just organically get exhausted in the winter. And also, a lot of my friends have been going through really stressful situations. So, through empathizing with them, I also kind of exhaust myself, right? Just like being like, oh, totes my I'm so cool. I don't have empathy, like a fucking 15-year-old, right? But that's simply not true, right? I have a lot of empathy. I just don't really know what to do if it is not like I can. It's not like I can experience it strongly, right? So it just ends up exhausting me more than anything. I mean, I can sometimes experience it really strongly, but generally, my sense of empathy isn't very, like, uh, I know the specific term, like when a feeling is like really intense, but also like really vivid at the same time. I don't know the word for it. But yeah, that's been also making me exhausted. Not to blame anyone, right? It's just when like five of your friends are all in really shitty situations, it goes like, yeah, that's a fuck ton. uh, and then to top it all off, right? I mean, it's also been making a lot of videos lately, and that's kind of been exhausting me. And since I stopped playing RuneScape, I've been doing things that are like more exhausting. Oh yeah, I'm taking a quote unquote break on RuneScape, where I never play RuneScape, or where I'm currently not playing RuneScape just to play RuneScape, right? The only time I open up RuneScape is when I'm watching like a YouTube video or when I'm in a call and I just need something to do with my hands. Because I discovered that after achieving like some huge goals I had, I kind of just ran out of like motivation to actively go for like giant goals in RuneScape. Because it's like the consistent things I've been working towards have all kind of been achieved, so now it's all like grinds I was never really looking forward to, but are worthwhile doing just to finish the count. Like, from my perspective, right, I can start playing an Iron Man right now, right, because that's ultimately the conclusion I'm going to reach. Because the Iron Man game mode is just superior to me, personally. So I could start playing an Iron Man right now and just have more fun for like 5 months, right? And then have to wait like 4 years to get the fucking catharsis of quote unquote finishing an account, right? And even when I get that catharsis, given that I'm on an Iron Man, right? Achievements will still hold a type of weight they don't hold on a main. So I'll be still trying to grind out like various achievements that aren't really worth going for. Just for the prestige that you wouldn't really get on a main. And yeah, so it's like, okay, do I have a 7 out of 10 time for 5 months, or do I have a 9 out of 10 time for 5 months? And I have a 10 out of 10 experience in 5 months, or I have a 10 out of 10 experience in 4 years, which I would already have anyway, right? No matter what I do. And so it's kind of obvious, like, hey, look, I'm just gonna finish my main. It's still gonna be fun, but it's not gonna be like iconic in the same way. It's gonna be meandering. It's gonna be slightly boring, but it's gonna be worth it to an extent, right? Because I know ending my main will be way more satisfying than just leaving it and not doing anything with it. So I'm just playing RuneScape as like something to do with my hands, and that means I've been spending more time reading. I've been spending more time watching like somewhat intellectually demanding shows. I guess like I wouldn't call the Horseshoe Saga intellectually demanding necessarily, but if if you're like the thing with the Horseshoe Saga, I'm not gonna really go in depth with it because I haven't finished it yet. But the thing with it, as far as I've been seeing it, is that it's not Like, I don't want to say it's like a meta commentary because it's fucking overplayed as fuck, right? But it's like a fucking. The messages of the Horseshoe Saga are completely divergent from the subject matter that it deals with, right? Like, the Horseshoe Saga isn't about My Little Pony, it's about the people who like My Little Pony, right? So, that's. Yeah. So, the more, like, you have, like, hindsight, and the more you're willing to think about the historical context and, like, broader implications and so on and so on and so on and so on, like, the more insane it gets, right? Because it's already an insane fucking piece of art, right? It's amazing. I'm really sad I never fucking watched it. Yeah, it's really long form too. It's really involved, and it's not really something I can watch completely passively, right? It's not like I finally relented to no thank you, and I started watching Among Us videos, and I've been enjoying them. And there's something I can just consume passively, right? It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's something really enjoyable, and it's something I can just really lose myself in when I just don't have any energy, which is constantly recently. And to top it off, to top all of the things that have been making me exhausted of, right, there's also the factor where I have the worst sleeping schedule currently. Because as you might know, right, my sleeping schedule rotates. I never go to sleep at the same time 2 days in a row, like generally speaking. What it ultimately comes down to is I have around a 24 and a half hour sleeping schedule, right? Like sleeping cycle, where every day I'll generally go to sleep half an hour after I did the previous day. And it doesn't matter exactly when I go to sleep, right? Even if I go to sleep 5 hours earlier than I'm used to, the next day I'll be really tired, I'll be jet lagged to fuck, right? And I'll stay up for about 16 and a half hours, generally. And then I'll sleep for about 8 hours, right? There's no really fixing it, right? And if I try to deliberately control it, right? And if I just don't give in to the chaos, what happens is I just wake up earlier, right? It's like, okay, I have to sleep for like 4 hours, or rather, I have to go to sleep in a place, right? Or let's say rather, like, I have to wake up at 8. I can go to sleep at midnight, right? And then I can sleep for 8 hours. But if my sleep cycle right now is such that I would go to sleep organically at like 5 a.m., I'm not gonna fall asleep before 5 a.m., right? I'm gonna sleep for 3 hours and repeat the next day, right? And the next day I'm gonna sleep for like 2.5 hours. Gonna repeat that. I'm gonna sleep for like 2 hours. And then after that, right, it's like, okay, there's no use bothering to go to sleep anyway, right? I'm just gonna crash in the middle of the day, and my sleep cycle is just gonna fucking just go to some other wacky schedule, right? And that's just how it's gonna go. And all that trying to change my sleep cycle actually accomplishes is feeling worse, right? But currently, I'm on the sleep cycle where I go to sleep around 2 and I wake up around 10. The problem with that is that the stores close around 10, right? And getting caffeine pills isn't possible because they're not sold in regular stores. So that means I have to go to the store in the morning, right? Which is around, or evening for me, morning in the real world, right? Which is around the time between 9 and 2, right? But that's the final, like, that's like the evening for me, right? That's like the final 5 or so hours of the day. And that's the time where I really don't want to be doing anything, right? Like, when I wake up, I don't want to be doing anything. And in the evening, I don't want to be doing anything, right? I'm not really a normie in that way, right? But like, I have a solid 8 hour period, which is 3 hours after I wake up and 5 hours before I go to sleep. And in that 8 hour period, I can be actively a human. I can make art, I can consume art, I can, if I need to do work. and that just doesn't work outside that period, so I really don't want to go to the store, and there's no good time to do it in. But this sleep schedule, as all things, will pass, and in a few days, like 5 or so days, like I can just go to the store in the morning and not have it be a big deal because I'll just feel like, oh, it's the morning. I'm gonna go to the store. I'm still in my active period, right? So it's not a thing I have to force myself to do. But the worst part, right? The worst part is that right now I can't do that because I know I won't have the motivation in the evening unless or morning rather, because even when I'm starving, I'll just order delivery, right? And I can't get caffeine pills anyway, right? So I have to set an alarm for like 9, so I wake up, or rather like 8 right now because I have to go shower and walk my dog and do shit like that. So I'll have to set an alarm for 8, so I'll only be sleeping for like 6 hours. And then I'm gonna wake up, I'll be tired as shit, right? I'll have to rush to the store. I'll have to get myself some food. I can't get caffeine pills probably, like I won't make it most likely. Maybe it's more like, now that I'm thinking, maybe it's, no, that's gonna be awful. Like I was thinking like maybe intentionally just wake up like way earlier. Because then it's like a nap, but like naps with alarm clocks are fucking dreadful. I'd rather have like 6 hours of sleep and then just have to go through being really fucking tired the day. But yeah, so tomorrow and the day after tomorrow I'll probably still be drinking Monster, which will only contribute to my exhaustion. And another part of my general tiredness recently, or generally rather, well, I mean recent to an extent too, but like there's no cure for it, is that I constantly get more and more tense, right? I don't have a way to relax. That's why alcohol still has a place in my life, because it's the only thing that's legal and makes me relax. Only gonna consume it rarely, like a few times a month. Because when I drink, that also makes me tired, right? So if I drink regularly, like, okay, I'm not tense, right? My brain isn't going a million miles an hour, fucking 24/7. But then I'm constantly physically exhausted from drinking, and that also fucking sucks. So alcohol is something I have to do very rarely and sparsely. So everything, I mean, to top it all off, I'm a very naturally low energy person, right? I'm not really a high energy person like you. To put it this way, every manic state I've had in the past year has been captured on YouTube, basically. I mean, not every manic state, but the vast majority of them. So it's true, like, I'm really hyped and excited, right, for like really specific periods of time. And sometimes it's more prevalent and apparent than it is generally. But aside from those really specific and somewhat rare moments, I'm just tired and low energy generally. Like, I just don't have that much energy to do things with. And everything is exhausting for me. There's nothing in the world that's relaxing to me. And there's just things that aren't actively exhausting. So yeah, I'm just a tired person. I'm an exhausted fucking person. And yet, I still make these fucking insane videos constantly because I'm a god. I'm a genius. I can talk into a camera. Like, this is the thing that fucking a lot of people don't really like admitting, right? Like, when you're making a video, right, the time you spend on it is, like, unless it's like this, like, really edited video or like an insane RuneScape progress video or something, the time you spend on it is always going to be somewhat minuscule, right? Even if you heavily edit like 30 minutes of video, that's still gonna be like maybe 5 hours of work maximum, right? It's depending on how heavily edit. Like, I mean, you can like really go hard with the graphics, right? And then recording that is maybe like 3 hours, 4 hours, right? If you want to get it perfect. So it's like one work they can make a 30-minute video of like a really high quality. Like the part that constrains most people is finding topics to talk about, right? But when my topic is inherently tied to like mundanity, right? When my channel is about mundanity, there's just topics whenever I want to express them, and I make an active choice not to broadcast my life constantly, right? It's not like I go like, oh wow, I'm so much better than daily vloggers or whatever the fuck, right? But it's like the fact of the matter is I don't want to put every part of my life on fucking YouTube, right? And I know that no one would actually want to see that, and if you would, then you shouldn't watch my channel, I guess, because I think you're coming into it with unhealthy expectations, right? I think the interesting part isn't the like fucking totes my trivia, right? Hopefully, at least. Hopefully, the interesting part is just me being able to create like a comfy atmosphere and me being able to convey like ideas and cool stuff. Because that's what I want to do. And I know I'm framing it through like a really mundane series of experiences, but that's just the way I can express myself, I guess. I mean, I can express myself differently, right? It's just I don't really excel at like really spruced up videos, right? Like when you look at the Eternal Cope of Misaki, which is in my opinion, right, my most viewed video because like I know my Muzi 2 video has like more views, I think technically, but that doesn't really fucking count because half of the video views are like from people who really like Muzi 2 for some reason. We just managed to title it in such a way that when people search like Nya Muzi 2, they'll find my fucking video. Like that wasn't intentional really, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking comment in this obscure fucking lore. And apparently a lot of people took that really personally. Anyway, like when you look at the Eternal Coop of Misaki, right, it's a good video. It's a video I appreciate a lot. I really liked editing it, even though I don't want to repeat it. And I think I did a good job of conveying emotions in a non-linear way, which was what I was going for. But even though the script was good, the editing was good, the video was good, right? It would have been better if it was made by someone who was actually like interested in analysis. Like really, what I wanted to convey was just opinions me and my friend had when we were watching the show. Because when I went to Sweden to visit a really good friend of mine, most of our time was spent watching Welcome to the NHK because we had been watching it in Discord for a while, and then we were like, yeah, we can just finish the show, and that's most of what I did in Sweden. Like went to like some cool restaurants, we had like some really cool experiences, and it wasn't just like we were watching anime all the time. But, like that was that's the most important part of the experience to me. And being able to express those thoughts, right, and being able to like put the things that we were talking about into an analytical script and then combine that with like this really emotional editing, at least in my opinion, was a great experience. But there's not likely gonna be another anime like that, like in any predictable or common way, right? There might be another one like that, but it's gonna be like a random happenstance, right? And at this point, the people I'm most likely to watch anime with are people who are way better suited to analyzing anime anyway, right? Like, there's no real point for me to be like an anime analyst because I don't really deliver that type of content really well, and the way I find it comfortable to communicate is through like these really ambiguous, rambly patterns of speech, I guess. Because like when I'm talking, right, it's not like I'm saying fully formed ideas, right? Because if I had fully formed ideas, I would be like, I couldn't express them while talking. I would need to write them down, right? Because that's to me what expressing an idea means, and I could read that script, right? And I plan to make more scripted videos in the future because I appreciate. Oh my god, I'm fucking falling to sleep. I'm just gonna finish this point and then go the fuck to sleep. But yeah, in the future. Yeah, anyway, right. Yeah, where was I? Oh my fucking god. Yeah, so if I have a fully formed idea, I'm just gonna write it down. So when I'm speaking off the cuff, it's not ideas that I have finished, but rather the first draft or like the second draft or the 10th draft for something that I would need to write down if I wanted it to be a fully formed idea. Yeah, that's it. These streets are currently in a condition I can only refer to as slippery hell, because it was really cold a few days ago, and then it got pretty warm, and then it rained, and it rained all over the ice and snow, and now it's slippery hell. I'm kinda considering just walking on the road where the cars are, because that would be safer than trying to walk down this sidewalk. But then again, I think I should wait until I get closer to home, because the roads here aren't even that bad compared to the roads closer to my home. And the chance of getting caught or ran over here is way higher than I would be comfortable with. It's just really fucking inconvenient. It's fucking awful. And I like when I was rushing to the store, I was constantly sleeping, right? Constantly. Like every minute or so I was just like sleep and almost fall, but not quite. And everything is just worse because I had to use my mom's shampoo because my shampoo wasn't at home, and it has a strong smell, and now I'm really overstimulated from that too. And it's all fuck. To an extent, I kind of think that the having to go to the store late problem isn't even the worst, right? Because the bad consequences for it is just like, oh, I'm gonna spend the whole day feeling kinda shitty and then order fast food or something, right? It's something that's really easy to survive, right? It's really easy to cope with. But the bigger problem is I can't use my washing machine at night. So I've been just steadily running out of clothes, right? Because by the time I wake up, I would be going to sleep around the same time that the washing machine would finish. So the clothes would stay in the washing machine for the duration of how long I sleep, which causes a high probability that they will start to smell. But on the other hand, I just ran out of clothes. I barely have any clothes left that I can wear. So I have to use the washing machine, and tomorrow definitely. Yeah, before yesterday, I was like, yeah, when it comes because I've been having issues finding an endocrinologist for like the past almost year now, where I'm cleared legally for HRT, but there's just not been any opportunity to go to an endocrinologist. And so I was like, okay, when Monday comes, I'm gonna do it because it was the weekend and there was a high likelihood that I wouldn't get any responses. And now I'm also on the first sleeping schedule, right? So when it would be appropriate to contact people and so on and so on and so on, I'm so fucking tired that it's fairly inconceivable. It's not like I can entirely blame like a bad sleeping schedule, because no matter what, I would still be exhausted. I would just be less exhausted. But yeah, what happened today was probably the worst thing that could happen. Also, it wasn't that bad, right? I woke up at 8 as I had planned, right? But then I was like, I literally am incapable of getting out of bed. So I went back to sleep. Woke up at around 9. I was like, I'm literally incapable of getting out of bed. But that time, I was also incapable of going back to sleep. So I had to get out of bed, I had to shower. And I was out of shampoo, so I had to use my mom's shampoo. Which is a horrible mistake, I regret, because it smells way too fucking strongly. But anyway, fucking... yeah, so I woke up at 9, I was really fucking tired, right? I didn't even get a decent sleep because I woke up at 8. Like, I didn't get woken up by an alarm, at least. I just woke up naturally before the alarm. So I turned the alarm off and I was like, fuck it. I can't deal with this. Then I just showered real quick and basically rushed outside. I have to go, like, the moment I get home, I'm gonna have to go walk my dog. Because, like, fucking... I didn't get to do it before, but that's an entire process too. And especially because it's slippery hell, where my dog can't even fall, she'll just slip. But she needs to do her business, so it goes how it goes. But yeah, it's all a fuck. And I was thinking before, right, like when I said like, okay, I've been tired for as long as I can remember. How long is the time that I can remember, right? Because I was tired when I was like 14, right? But like at that point, I was only getting like 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep a day, right? Very often, because I had to go to school, and as I said before, my sleep schedule can't really adjust itself. So what ended up happening is I just slept all day on the weekend and didn't sleep during the week. And that basically kept repeating. But like fucking... Before that, was I actually tired? Like when I was 12, 13? Yeah. But that was because I was forced to do sports, which exhausted me really severely. Not only because I had to do sports, but also because I had to walk to the place where the sports were taking place in, or walk to the bus. Or if I couldn't make it to the bus, I would have to basically run to the facility. And especially in the winter, that was challenging, right? So it was like, there was this whole loop of me having to do sports, me having to get myself to where the sports were being done, which in all fairness wasn't that long of a walk. It was maybe like 10-15 minutes on an average day, right? And of course, I wouldn't have that much money, right? So I couldn't like buy like snacks or anything after the sports. So I'd just be hungry until I get home. And when I got home, I would fucking eat, and then the day would be over, right? I would have to go to sleep. And it was all really fucking tiring. It was all insanely exhausting. Before that, that's a time I don't remember, right? That's a time I only have vague recollections of. And in that time, I don't know if I was tired, right? I might have been, but like, it's really possible that I was. Also, I think I'm gonna switch to walking where the cars drive now, so I'm gonna stop recording, but yeah. So I have been tired for the entire life I can remember, but I can't remember that much of my life. Actually, let's see if the other side of the road is like more walkable, because that was fucking impossible to walk on. Yeah, fucking... It's also fucking tiresome, Like, I wish I could just not be an exhausted person. I wish I could just be a person with, like, any energy. But that just doesn't fucking happen, you know, like, ever. And I think there's an extent to which I've been waiting to stop being exhausted, right? There's an extent where I've gone, like, yeah, if I just pretend it isn't there, it will go away, right? But I've never even been able to pretend that I'm not tired. Like when I try to overwork myself, it just means I just lose my energy for like months at a time, and it's fucking tiring. Like it's probably something I should have fucking checked out by some medical professional or something. I can do it. Yeah. I hate that feels. So I'm gonna stop recording, I'm gonna take off my headphones. I'm just gonna walk on the fucking street because this is impossible. Like, this is way more dangerous than just walking on the fucking road. I'm back on the sidewalk for a bit, so I want to talk about Monster. Right, here's a kind of monster that I'm thinking. Monster has one advantage over caffeine pills, but it's the only one. It's the only advantage it has, and that's lacking a side effect that caffeine pills have on me. With caffeine pills, if I try to do any physical, not even exercise, but rather like, even if I just go for a walk, right? If I just go for a walk, I will feel like absolute dog shit, right? I'll get a headache, right? I'll start sweating, I'll feel really fucking hot, even when I shouldn't, right? And that's kinda inevitable. So I have to be like stationary for like 30 minutes after I take my caffeine pills. Like, it might have to do with the L-theanine, because that's like the thing that's absent from the Monster. But yeah, oh, this is a proper slippery hill, by the way. I'm just switching on the road when I reach the end of this sidewalk. But yeah, fucking, that's the one advantage of canned Monster, as it doesn't have that fucking side effect. Walking my dog was even worse than I could have predicted. But yeah, I'm gonna give a fair warning, so if you don't want to see it as I describe it, click off the video or wait for like 5 seconds because it'll be off the screen soon. But I wanna show the album cover for Alienation, which is me putting a lit cigarette out on my breast. There's nothing sexual in it, there's nothing that I couldn't have on YouTube. Well, it might technically go against like some self-harm policy, but it's not self-harm, it's artwork. And yeah, if you don't want to see that, then click away or look away. But yeah, this is the album cover. It's really fucking dope in my opinion. It's fucking sick as fuck. Like, I especially really like how you can see the smoke here. Like, I played with the contrast in a really specific, deliberate way so you could. But yeah, the cover is now off the screen. You can look back if you were looking away. But yeah, I wanted to show that because I have a scar from it, and it kind of feels like if I let it go to waste and not show it to people, that wouldn't really be worth it, even though like right now, like just taking that picture was really a cathartic and fun experience. But yeah, the reason I'm talking about Alienation is it's cancelled, and if you're some of my friends, you know this is cancelled because I've talked about it before. But I just kind of want, fuck, I'm rambling again. I tried to record this before, and I just went off on a ramble because I think I have like some really strong emotional attachment to Alienation. So if I start talking about cancelling it, I just start rambling and making excuses. Basically, it wasn't fun to make. Like, I don't like making music. It sounds like that. I don't enjoy recording it. I don't enjoy producing it. I only record writing the lyrics. Or fuck. Fuck. That happens sometimes when I'm recording videos. I just have like some nervous thing going on, and it's really fucking annoying because it's just for no reason. It just happens sometimes randomly. But yeah, anyway, there's only one, like, I guess verse from the song that I want to preserve in some solidified form, and that's the opening verse from a song titled Stuck in My Own Fears, which is not the best song, but it has the best line, which is, or best verse, which goes like, they made it to the church steps, another case of matrimony, turn my bread to cigarettes, and wine to Monster Energy. I'm living in my own regrets, I'm stuck in this reality, see happy people on the street, fuck no, that could never be me. And yeah, it goes like that. The other thing with Alienation was that it was a Mindbreak album, which was my alter ego, that was really heavily personified on Twitter, but now I just use Twitter. I don't even know how to use Twitter anymore. But yeah, I know that I'm not Mindbreak anymore, really. And that means that I can't really make alienation either. Like I don't have the spirit to make it like that. The verse I just sang right was a mind break verse. It isn't a Toadsmite verse. And mind break was kind of like this personification of solving all of my problems that exist at a certain point in time. And the answer to those problems was just kind of a really heavy handed, really intense nihilism, where it didn't even matter if I was happy or not. But that has passed, and I can't really be mind break anymore because now I actively want to be happy, right? And if you want to see what mind break looks like, you've seen the nihilist probably. If you're watching this fucking video so far, but yeah, the nihilist, the first half of the nihilist is just a mind break video. That's who mind break is, right? And yeah, I mean, but it can't be mind break anymore. Mind break died with the nihilist, and now I'm going a different way. And yeah, I just re-dyed my hair. It looks interesting because I haven't had a hairstyle like this like ever. But yeah, Toadsmite needs to evolve, right? And if I can't be mind break. The reason that the two things I gravitate to the most are RuneScape and YouTube. It's because these are the only two things I never get truly, truly tired of. And that has to do with the fact that both of them share two really important elements. The first element is that none of them expect you to completely focus on them at any point in time, right? Like with RuneScape, there's never an activity, or rather, there's almost never an activity that requires you to have the game sounds on and pay attention to the game and be constantly clicking, right? So, no matter what activity you're doing, you can listen to your own music, you can be doing something else on the side if you're doing something low intensity, or you can just be just watching something, just casually just playing RuneScape while you're watching something, right? Because it never demands everything from you. This is in contrast to something like CSGO that requires you to have game sounds on, it requires you to be communicating with your team, it requires you to be aiming and thinking about your positioning and so on and so on and so on. So it kind of demands every aspect of you for the duration that you're playing. And that exhausts me incredibly fast. And when I don't have any energy to begin with, right, it's just I can't really perform under those conditions. But with RuneScape, I can just click every few minutes and not really have to focus on the game. Now, with YouTube, there's a similar thing, right, where very few YouTubers make videos with the expectation that you're gonna be watching them at full focus. Now, there are some, right, but generally, when a YouTuber makes a video, right, it's something you can watch on the side, right? It's something you can put on your phone or your second monitor, right? And I specifically designed my videos to be that way because I know that's the way people consume YouTube, and the same goes for the majority of people who make YouTube content. Like there are some YouTube specific exceptions, obviously, but generally most exceptions to this are people who are trying to create TV or people who are trying to create like lectures and so on and so on and so on, right? That's the people who make YouTube videos that you're supposed to focus on like 100%. Now even the Horseshoe Saga, right, is more often than not, right, a collection of static images that you can just kind of pay half attention to, and you get the entire scope that it's trying to portray, right? There are obviously elements that are really cinematic and require a degree of paying attention, but the majority of these videos are just static images, right, where nothing really happens. And my videos are really, 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 really designed to be that way, right? Like, I'll often make a vlog and it'll just be a static shot of something, right? It won't be like anything. It'll just be me pointing a camera at like some fucking corner of my room and then just going off about something, right? So it's like, I really appreciate that thing. But the second part, the part that's even more important sometimes, is the degree of variety both these activities have. Because if I focus on one thing for too long, I'll inevitably get tired of that thing, right? Like, I can focus on something for a few hours. Like, I'm not ADHD or anything, right? But it's like, I can't focus on something for like the entire day really. Like I generally need some variety of what I've gotta do for the day. Like not because I'm like fucking incapable of doing the same thing, because I'm very capable. But rather it just keeps tiring me out the more I have to like maintain a similar scenery. Now it's also tiring to switch up the things I'm doing, right? So like in RuneScape when I have to bank and reorganize my inventory and so on, that is tiring. And on YouTube when I have to search for a new video to watch, that is also tiring, right? But it's not like I'm being exposed to only the same information for the whole day, because my brain just kind of short circuits when it has to think about the same thing for too long. Like I need to, because the thing I'm good at, right? The thing at least I think I'm good at is combining different pieces of information and creating a conclusion from disparate phenomena occurring simultaneously or near each other. And when I'm just being exposed to a not a monotonous but like a single-minded thing, right? I just won't be able to think about it, right? So in RuneScape, I might do just the thing I'm doing right now, and then I might go fishing, and then I might go kill a dragon, and then I might just do whatever the fuck I want to do. And on YouTube, right, I'll watch this series until I get really fucking tired, and then I'll just probably watch like Among Us videos or something like that, and not really have to focus and just be able to be carried away by just a relatively mindless but still stimulating experience, you know. And that's really what I love, like low expectations and variety. And like that's why I can't really watch movies, because movies expect you to constantly be paying attention, which I can only really do when I'm in a cinema setting, right, where I'm just sitting down in a really comfortable chair for 2 hours with no intention of leaving, right? Which I know I could replicate at home, but there's like a distinct atmosphere of the cinema, right? It's like really dark, but it's also like spacious. You're looking at a giant like screen, right? It's a unique experience, and no matter what you do, you can't have the same experience at home, right? That's why working for home doesn't work for a lot of people, like including myself to an extent. Where I get work done a lot better when I'm doing work outside my home, because when I'm in my home, it's the atmosphere that I'm in my home, and if I want to do work, I need to have a different atmosphere. Now, I've thought about designating like different parts of my apartment for different things, but my apartment is so small, so that's not really feasible. So yeah, that's kind of the same thing with me and movies. And it's on top of that, right? It's not just like, oh, movies demand like lot of attention, right? Because I can give attention, right? I don't necessarily need like multiple streams of things happening at the same time. But I can't give attention to one thing for that long when I have alternatives, right? And sometimes it feels really nice to not have any alternatives, right? I'm not gonna be like, yeah, this is what I want to be doing all the time, because I don't want to be doing this like 24/7, right? I wanna sometimes go to a cinema, or I wanna sometimes go on a walk and listen to something and not do anything other than walk and listen to something, right? Like, although that's technically two activities. But there is a very distinct and important space for like single-minded consumption for me. It's just that's not how I approach most things. Like generally when I watch anime, right, it's really hard for me to watch anime just when I'm just watching anime. But when it's something like as good as Eizoken, right, it's something I will just dedicate the time to just fully focus on, right? But with that, I can't watch it for more than 20-40 minutes at once, right? I get really, really exhausted when I watched like 5 episodes of Eizoken in a day, which is like a movie length, and I just was so fucking tired, right? So it's not about ability; it's about avoiding exhaustion, I guess, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's why the thing I do the most is just watch YouTube and play RuneScape, because it's a lot of variety. It's not very demanding, and it helps me avoid being exhausted. Because when I'm exhausted, right, I don't have the ability to do anything I enjoy like anywhere near this much. I can just maybe read like manga or suffer, generally just suffer. So that's my fucking psychology, I guess. I need to fucking get a new monster in a few hours, like in an hour or something, because I already feel myself crashing, which is not nice, which is very much not nice. Why do I make these videos? When I'm already so tired, when I'm already constantly bordering on exhaustion, why do I take the time out of my life, right? Why do I spend the energy to make these videos, right? I know only like 5 to 10 people will practically watch them, right? But like it's like, well, first of all, those people are my friends, right? Those people are important to me, and being able to make videos for them is way more important than having a mass audience or whatever. Like I wouldn't even really want that. But on the other hand, right, it's also like the obvious, like, oh, it's a form of artistic expression, right, and it's a really accessible one, so I don't have to worry about like all the production that goes into making music, or I don't have to worry about like all the energy that goes into writing. So I can just go and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna make a video, and it works. It allows me to express something of myself, but like, there's a point at which there isn't much more left to express, right? There's a point at which this is just like a slow burn slice of life, and the only prospective appeal, right, is to see me change over time, right? There's no real intrigue video by video, right? It's just gonna be, hey, look, I'm at home, I'm just talking to myself about things I've been thinking about lately, right? And it's never like there's any type of like sweeping change, right? Like there might be like an expression of an era, like the way that the nihilist was, and there might be like deep meditation, not deep, but like in-depth meditations about my past in various videos, or maybe just like when I started, I had like way more statements. Like with the Giga Vlog series, I wasn't really making a statement on anything, but I was making a statement on myself, right? I was like, okay, what kind of cinema would I create? Basically, that was my idea of Giga Vlog, right? That's where making my videos about an hour and a half came from, because the concept or rather the concept behind the Giga Vlog series was like, okay, how would I do cinematography when it comes to my own life, right? How would I make my own life visually and thematically interesting? And my solution was like, with the constraint that it has to be movie length, right? And my solution, that was the Giga Vlog, right? The first Giga Vlog was like, okay, I'm gonna take these themes I explored back in Loneliness Analysis, which was my first really real video. And I took those themes, right, and I was like, okay, what if I made a movie out of this? Like, how would I add visual intrigue, right? And then I went into my entire backstory, right? And not the entire backstory, but then I went into my backstory in this really specific way of like framing a journey around my city as being about the graffiti I've done, right? And with that, I managed to frame like a long period of my life. I managed to still tell a story both about like where I was at that point and my past leading up to that point, and it all kind of worked in a really pleasant way to me. And then with the Gigavlog sequel, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing, right? I didn't have a framing device as effective as the graffiti device was that just carried the first Gigavlog, but I had the part where I could just do the same thing but better, right? And I could also add a commentary on the sacred chaos to more juxtapose the present with the various elements of the past I was discussing. And then in Gigavlog 3, I managed to just like add this entire tree narrative, and it was just full contemporaneity, I think is the word. Where it was just me getting really drunk and going insane on a tree, while just things like while things that had happened relatively recently were like coming back to me just as a pure accident, right? And there was this just challenge of, hey, how long can I stay on a tree without leaving? And now looking back at it, right, that now is an element of my past juxtaposed against my present, right? Like that type of stunt, right, experimenting with those types of stunts, right, is now a very vestigial thing to me, right? Because now I've realized that I don't do stunts really well, right? I don't lend myself to stunts. I lend myself to this perpetual mundanity, right? or perpetual mundanity rather. And so now the gigavlog is the past, right? Now I'm juxtaposing everything against the gigavlog, and for good reason, because the gigavlog was like the first real art I intentionally created on YouTube, right? And I guess that's kind of what I care about and I want to create. I want to not only have a journey, right? I don't only want to just be like, okay, this is my journey on YouTube, right? And you can endlessly juxtapose it against itself, right? But I want to leave some type of legacy, right? I want people from 10 years from now to be like, yeah, those might made really cool videos, right? And I know it's really stupid, and I know, like, I don't really have like a fan base that would really care about, like, wow, those might, wow, like, I just have friends, really. Like, I want my friends to look back upon like this time in their lives and this time in my life and be like, yeah, those might made some great art, right? Those might made some really cool videos, and that's to an extent what drives me, right? I want to do everything I can do at this stage in my life, right? And this artistic expression that's possible for me. Because I know that YouTube is most likely a transient element in my life, right? I know I'm probably not gonna make YouTube videos when I'm 30, right? Because my passions aren't inherently tied to YouTube, right? It's just art that I have consumed when I was growing up, and it's art that I've been consuming the most actively. But it's not art that I love the most, right? Same with music. Like, it's not like I have this massive degree of love for YouTube and music. I love them both in their own ways, right? I appreciate being able to experience them, but it's not like this transient, transcendental, permanent, like, romance I have with these mediums. Like, I wasn't really into music as a kid, you know, I was kind of into YouTube as a kid, but like, appreciating these things as art forms, right, is just kind of like a stage I go through. It's kind of like an element of my life. It isn't really my life, right? When it comes to like what is my life, it's fiction, it's non-fiction, it's books, right? It's the perpetual learning that books can give you, and it's the perpetual depth that no other medium can replicate. So most likely, I'm gonna be writing books as a form of artistic expression soon, or when I feel like I'm done with YouTube, and I think I can find more to express in this medium, and I want to give my friends, I want to give the people who like my videos more to like experience, right? I want to give people some really cool things to go through, I guess, with me. But it's not like something I plan to do forever. It's not like something I plan to have forever, right? Like, I don't really care about fame. I actively, to a degree, want to avoid fame. But if I would have fame, I wouldn't want to be like famous, really. Like, the perk of fame is the relative anonymity, right, which helps greatly with my anxiety. But if I were to have fame, I wouldn't want to be like, oh yeah, that's Toadsmith, that's the internet celebrity, right? Like, if that was to characterize my life, I'd want it to be like, hey, that's Toadsmith. Yeah, they wrote a cool book I like reading, and not, hey, that's Toadsmith, that person made like, I don't want to have a 10 million view YouTube series that people go like, yeah, that's the best YouTube series ever, right? I don't want to be someone insult, right? I don't want to be like fucking whoever the fuck, Dream, whatever, whoever. Doesn't matter. I don't want to be any of those people. I want to be like, hey, that's my. They were able to give me like this amazing experience at one time in my life, and I just want to inspire people. Really, I want, like, I was watching Jesse's analysis on like the pony characterization or whatever, and there's a point that he stresses that each character's like biggest strength is their biggest weakness, right? So, and that they like need to throw up that element from other, like, and their elements can be characterized as something they amplify from others, and they need others to like have from them, right? And it's like, the thing I like the most is inspiring people, because I need to be inspired by people, right? It's just the most significant part, right? And then I need people to come up to me and be like, "Yo, dudes, the thing you did really inspired me," and I need to, because I'm just so heavily dependent on people inspiring me, right? That's how I can still do things when I'm like so tired all the fucking time, because people go like, "Yeah, this is some cool idea," and I go like, "Fuck, that idea is so cool. I need to put my own fucking touch on it." And I just need people to have the same experience when it comes to things I make. And like that to an extent is my biggest strength and my biggest weakness, right? Where I'm so reliant to an extent on other people that I want other people to be reliant on me, right? And the way I do that isn't by like manipulating people. The way I do that is just by being like, it's just people by letting people know that I'm going to be a part of their lives, right? Because I need to be a part of people's lives. If that makes any sense, I'm just fucking rambling. I slept for 12 hours today. I didn't have any appointments, and I had intentionally bought myself multiple days worth of food, so I was able to be asleep for as long as I wanted to. Now the funny part is that I went to sleep at 11, which means that even if I slept for a solid like 10 hours, I would have still been able to go to the store. But since I slept for 12 hours, everything is closed now. And this just serves to demonstrate how much sleep that I had, so hopefully moving forward I'll have less exhaustion, which again is a matter of perspective because I'm generally just really tired, you know, and I'm generally just not that energetic, I guess. But still, it's nice to get good sleep. For once, even though it wasn't amazing or anything, like, my back and neck still hurt and I'm still kinda tired. But, like, I feel like I've slept enough, which hasn't happened for a really long time. And I also had this really weird dream where basically everyone I knew was there. And that was fucking odd. But yeah, fucking. What else? I guess that's about it. Okay, so here's a classic Toads My Trend, right? Fucking Patreon rewards. Like if you look at my Patreon, which is just a ghost town because it's not supposed to be used, right? It's supposed to just exist if someone wants to give me money, right? But if you look at my Patreon, like patreon.com/Toadsmite, you'll see that the reward tiers are all the same. You have $5, you have $10, you have $15. All of these reward tiers get you to see videos I don't upload, right? So it's like you get like two songs and like three or four videos on my Patreon, and none of them are like amazing or anything. I'll fucking just DM them to anyone to like I don't fucking care. But like that's my Patreon, right? That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be somewhere where people can give me money, right? And sure, they get something back, right? I give them these fucking things I haven't published, but I don't give any rewards beyond like the $5 tier, right? So here are the questions I have, right? And here's why I think I'm right. So first of all, in the $5 tier, right? That's that's what is the minimum for me, and that's the only tier that has unique rewards. So at $5, right? That's why is that the minimum tier? Because that's the minimum amount of money that would make any type of difference to me, right? Like when it comes to like if someone's paying me $1 per month, right? That would barely be even worth just redeeming from Patreon, right? And fucking paying fees for and so on and so on and so on, right? So generally, for someone to give me money that would actually impact my life, right? That's $5, right? But what if there were 1,000 people who wanted to give you $1 on Patreon? That's true. That's fair. If I ever find myself in such a situation, I'll make like a $1 or $2 Patreon tier. But strictly speaking, if you're some underground person, right? There's never really like that type of situation that's gonna happen. So for me, right? For me, the minimum amount of tip I want, not because of any type of like massive greed, like oh you need to give me $5. All of you need to give me $5, because I know I'm financially better off than 99% of my audience, right? I know I'm financially better off than the vast majority of the people watching me. So strictly speaking, if you can't give me $5, I don't even fucking want your money. Keep it to your fucking selves. Like you just use it for a better purpose. So that's why my minimum tier is $5. Just because it isn't worth fucking going through the process of getting the money out of Patreon if it's any less than that. But then why do I not offer additional rewards, right? Why is the $10 and 15 tier exactly the same? And when they're exactly the same, why do they still exist, right? They still exist because if I go on someone's Patreon, even if I want to give them like $10 and they're like biggest tier is like $5, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just click this button instead of having to type in my own fucking shit and creating my own fucking thing, you know. I think that's how it works. I don't even fucking know how it works because I've never fucking done it. So if someone wants to click a button to give me $10, that's there. And the $15 fucking tiers, there's no one fucking gave me more money, which I haven't been able to avoid. But that's supposed to be the intent. That's the maximum amount of money I want from a viewer. Like I don't think I give a single viewer more value than $15 in a single month, right? That's just my take on it because like if you watch Still Smite, right, I think make sure I give you maybe like 20 hours of fucking video on a good month, right? If I go kinda wacky, and maybe even more if I produce shit at an insane rate as I used at some point in time. But t- 20 hours to me, I wouldn't pay more than $15 for it, right? Because I'm just consuming it passively, right? It's not like, oh, experiencing these artistic masterpieces. Even when I'm making an artistic masterpiece, right? It's not like you're experiencing it like, oh wow, this is life changing every single day, right? Because that's just not how art works and how people work. So I don't want anyone to give me more than $15 in a single month. So that's the range I want. That's the range I care about, and that's gonna be my tiers, right? It's I'm not gonna make any fucking larger tiers. I'm not gonna make any smaller tiers, and that's my philosophy. Your smallest tier should be the minimum amount of money you want from a person, and your largest tier should be the maximum amount of money you want from a person. Like that just makes sense to me. But like, what about the rewards, right? What about the rewards? Patreon reward culture has reached a point where I don't even want to fucking give someone more than their minimum tier on Patreon, right? Because if you like, everyone has a fucking reward tier. Like, yeah, I'll throw something for you. Yeah, I'll make a song for you. Yeah, I'll make a video for you. Like as a fucking larger reward. And it's like, in some certain cases, such as fucking Digi, right? It worked because it was again a special case, and then Digi pulled a Digi move and fucking never delivered the rents that she owed to people. But it worked in her case because people wanted to hear her talk about fucking shit, right? And people had been telling her to talk about shit for a long time. So now when they could just pay for it, they would just do it, right? But when you're a musician, right, people don't go up to you and go like, "Oh, make this song," or when you're an artist, people don't go up to you and go like, "Oh, make this drawing," right? People generally like want to pay you money so you would do your art, not so you would do their art, right? Because people like artists because they're extrinsic to themselves, right? People don't want artists to necessarily reflect their own desires, but often challenge them as much as they reflect them, right? Like, my favorite album is Ralph Finger's Carnival, and it sounds exactly like I want music to sound like, right? In in the soundscape of the album, it's not challenging at all to me. It's just how I think music should sound like, right? But that's combined with these like really uh, really catchy hooks often, and themes that I would never use, right? And it's basically like making a statement to me, like, hey, look, beauty reflects itself in this way, right? But you also have to accept that these things that you necessarily don't really do yourself, right? And you will never consider putting in your own music, and these things that you don't actively look for music are necessary to enhance this really beautiful production, right? Like, you don't get the fucking insane soundscapes of Carnival without fucking magical broom broom, right? And both of the sides are mutually reinforcing and valuable, you know? And that's what art is supposed to do, right? But if I went up to Ralph Finger, right, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna pay you $10 to make a song, which is insane, right? If your Patreon tier is like, oh, give me $10 and I'll spend fucking and any time doing something, right? It's like, okay, so that makes sense considering how much you like expected to be paid at a job, right? How, like, if you spend like 2 hours on a fucking song, it's like, oh, $5 per hour. Oh, this makes sense. Like, oh, I'm spending an hour on a drawing. Oh, $10. That makes sense, right? But you have to consider that this isn't a job. People are paying you once per month, right? And I know there's fucking capitalism and so on and so on and so on, but most people who are willing to pay you $10 are also going to be willing to pay you $15, right? That's just the fact of the matter, especially if it's something personalized, right? And at that point, a significant portion would still be willing to pay you like $20. But $15 tends to be people's like cut-off point for what they think is like an insignificant amount of money. $20 is already like a product to people, from what I see. But yeah, it's there's just some observations. Yeah. Anyway, if I went up to Ralph Finger and I was like, hey, here's $10, make me a song of the soundscape, right? Ralph Finger would come and be like, oh yeah, I know that my audience wants me to fucking do some abstract fucking shit, right? So Ralph Finger would go like, oh, I can't just talk about heart, right? I have to be more sophisticated. Okay, I'm gonna make some song that's about like the power of causality or whatever the fuck. It would be awful. It would be awful. It wouldn't fit Ralph Finger, right? Although he wouldn't do it, right? Ralph Finger wouldn't sell out. Ralph Finger isn't a sellout. I have to make this clear. This situation is impossible in the first place because Ralph Finger wouldn't fucking sell out. But yeah, anyway. And oftentimes when I see people make these Patreon rewards, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm exploiting them if I give them $10, right? Oh, I give you $10 and you're gonna fucking do work for me. I don't wanna fucking exploit this person. Like, I don't wanna be a capitalist fucking slave driver. Like, if you value your labor appropriately, please, and then I might consider giving an appropriate amount of money. But like, I would never fucking want to exploit people. Like, to do work like way less than they deserve. You know. That's my rant on fucking Patreon. Turns out I still fucked up. So the potatoes I have gone off, right? They're soft, they're squishy. Not good, not good. I don't really want to make mashed potatoes. If the potatoes themselves are fucking have gone off, right? But luckily to me, the McDonald's is still open and the roads aren't anywhere near as slippery as they were yesterday. So since the roads aren't slippery and the McDonald's is open, I can go on a burger quest again for the second time. Burger quest, the sequel. Actually, I'm not gonna film it. I'm just gonna fucking film whatever the fuck I want. I'm not gonna actually do like a second fucking burger quest vlog. Oh, the burger quest vlog was actually like one of the fucking weirdest things I've made. Like loneliness analysis and burger quest are like the two videos I've recorded in like a fugue state, where I just kind of started recording in a condition where it was impossible for me to think. So those are kind of like the most organic videos I've ever made, right? And this isn't going to be one because right now I'm really capable of thinking because I had actually a good night of sleep and I'm not exhausted as fuck. So I was planning to finish the Horseshoe Saga. But that's not gonna really happen right now because I need to eat and the one hope I had has been destroyed. So I need to go to McDonald's, basically. That's the gist of it. Never mind, it seems like the McDonald's is actually closed. I looked it up. So now I have to improvise. And hopefully I can make something edible. I don't fucking know. Or I can go to a 24/7 store, but that's gonna be like a 2 hour journey. And honestly, I don't really, like, that's not gonna be worth it. Because I can either go to a 24/7 store and have like a 2 hour journey, or I can wait for like 6 hours until I can just fucking get myself food from somewhere else. It's like, is that 4 hours gonna be worth it? I fucking think so, especially because unlike usual, I have ingredients at home, and when I have ingredients, it means I can make some type of food. Like I can make probably some kind of pizza, like that would be possible. Like some chicken pizza with like tomatoes and something else. Yeah, that sounds decent. I'm not gonna make that. As I was starting to prepare to make the pizza, I just remembered I have tortilla shells. And I was a retard and I forgot that I had tortilla shells. No, I'm good, I'm golden. I can just make tortillas. Or whatever, it's fucking easy. Easy game, fucking young toads might getting rescued by preparation, I guess. And just fucking letting shit lay around and not knowing what to do. So I'm just gonna fucking make myself some tortillas. Fucking gonna have a good old time, and just have an actual meal. And here I have tortillas. Young Toads might fucking based for life wins once again. I'm watching the new No Thank You video and I already have something to talk about. You know the Rebecca Black Friday fucking remix, right? You know, everyone knows it's bad. Everyone can explain why it's bad in a fuck ton of different ways. Here's my take. Here's the one thing that's particularly offensive to me. Right, look, Rebecca Black, right, is wearing like fetish type gear, I'm wearing like latex and chains and so on and so on and so on, right? This is the thing that fucking annoys me about that specific like part of like the fucking alternative pop or whatever the fuck scene, the fucking scene where white women pretend they're special. Anyway, right, the thing is, right, fetish gear was only ever interesting because it was taboo, right? The intrigue in fetish gear wasn't there because it was particularly interesting, right? Because fetish gear isn't supposed to be interesting to look at, right? It's supposed to be used in contexts where it's sexually pleasurable, right? Like it's never supposed to be in an unsexual context in its original intent, right? But the fact that its only purpose was sexual, right, made it really easy to appropriate to like critique society, right? Okay, I'm wearing these symbols of like fucking sexual deviance, like it's literally straightforwardly, right? Fucking wearing your sexual fucking uh outlier status on your sleeve, right? So that was really cool about fetish gear for a while, right? That was why it was really like interesting when people did like fucking like even when the Amazing Atheist did, right? It was like, oh, that's fucking transgressive, right? That's fucking interesting. I fucking hate how my camera can't focus. Like that's the fucking pain of my existence. And I have the fucking biggest artists, not the biggest artists, but you know, the biggest artists for like the youth, right? And Rebecca Black in a fucking music video where the fucking fetish gear is front and center, right? It's less sexual than anything else at this point because it's so fucking overplayed, right? When you see fetish gear, you go like, oh, that's boring white women. You don't go like, oh, that's an important message about fucking society, sexual norms, and fucking transgressing them and making it art, right? It's like, oh, yeah, white women want to be special, right? That's the fucking thing that was immediately offensive to me about this fucking remix. That's fucking annoys me. It annoys me so fucking much. So this is something I want to talk about in the Schmutz video. I would just message Noah on fucking Matrix, but I've been fucking spamming him already. So I'm gonna put it in the video because I think it's kinda interesting, right? He talks about how the sky is incomprehensibly infinite, right, and terrifying in that regard. Well, I personally have never had a problem with infinity. I think for me it's way easier to imagine something approximating infinity than it is for most people, right? Like when I see like evidences of infinities, you know, where I go like, oh damn, like this puts things into perspective. I go like, wow, yeah, I never quite thought of it like in that magnitude, right? But just imagining something infinitely bigger than any human isn't so impossible to me. It's like something that I almost do intuitively, right? And it might be like why I'm so into shonen faggotry, like fucking old Aquinas train of thought where he went like, yeah, since there has to be something bigger than someone else, there has to be the biggest thing, right? And like that's kind of the logic that like shonen operates on, right? And the biggest thing is always infinity, right? The biggest thing is always infinity, which in Aquinas' fucking theology means that there has to be a god because there has to be a thing that is infinite, right? And to me, like since I kind of operate based on like similar logic, right, where I can just scale things in my head fairly easily, right? I can scale things up to the highest possible scaling, which is very big and very long, right? That's not too difficult for me. It never has been. But the thing that fucks with me are clouds. Because first of all, they are enormous, right? They're beyond anyone's control. They're these fucking objects floating in the sky in fucking vague shapes, right? But to me, it feels like they're kind of alive. To me, it always feels like clouds are like fucking computers watching me. Like not in like a way that's schizo, but like in like a more intuitive, vague, incomprehensible way. So I completely share finding that clouds are terrifying. Although infinity, yeah, whatever. Clouds, fuck that. What the fuck am I even talking about? Also, another comment they had where Neil points out the fucking when people create paths, right, by walking over grass, right, so it creates like an organic path. Uh, Akin to that, this is something I've always pointed out, and this is something that I picked up from someone, I don't remember who, and I've definitely said in a video. But I think the moment where you realize you're free is the moment you start jaywalking, right? Because jaywalking is the ultimate negation of authority, right? Because you see a road, right, and you see that it's more practical to cross this road wherever you want, right? And you see that structures have merit, right? Because when you cross the road, you take the risk of being hit by a car, but if you can verify for yourself, right, without the need for an authority to do it, you can cross the road safely without paying any fucking attention to the cars. So when you jaywalk, that's when you can start conceptualizing anarchy, right? That's something I always said. But it's kind of an obvious piece of logic. These monsters are really fucking with me. Not good, not good, not good at all. I baited, no thank you. I fucking read everyone 10 moves ahead. I'm Smite, I'm the genius of the world, right? So, in no thank you's last video, he responded to a segment I made, and it just happened, right? You've seen the fucking segment probably, maybe I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter, I'm not gonna explain it. If you know, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna just respond to no thank you, right? And I realized that the disagreement we have is mostly a disagreement about terms, right? Where no thank you goes and says like fucking like that dropping out is not an effective form of rebellion because it doesn't really accomplish anything, right? So I'm gonna give it a few counterexamples, but to start with, I'm gonna define what I mean by metamodernity, because in the original video I didn't really give it a concrete definition because it was like a tonal and aesthetic video, so it wasn't supposed to have like really concrete definitions of anything, right? So modernity, right, was a reaction to classical fucking thought, right, where instead of fucking valorizing like kings and gods and so on, like you have these grandiose, not philosophical, but like I don't even know how to describe it, like grandiose and what's the fucking word? It's like mythological, like grandiose and meta mythological figures, or pseudo mythological, or however the fuck you want to describe it, right? Instead of valorizing those things, you would celebrate and look into the common person and their struggles, right? And so modernity was characterized by this notion of progressing further and further into a state of like a state of like constant improvement for the average person, right? So the art movements, right, concentrated on like issues like mental illness and perception, and fucking the political movements and art, like everything, like was just like, hey, look, what do people struggle with? Let's focus on that. Like what the normal people, right, as the Campbell soup can example, right? Normal people are not going to see like the regality of anything anymore, right? That era is over. So instead, we're gonna focus on icons that are actually relevant in people's lives, and so on and so on and so on. So that was the condition of modernity, right? And in post-modernity, that evolved into a kind of absence of mundanity, right? Since everything mundane had been so valorized, right? We had gotten again to a point where the glamorous society or where high society had re-emerged in like a really substantial way, right? Where the heroes and mythos of that age was tied into like celebrity culture, was tied into like fucking political culture and so on and so on. So you had like these ideals like Ben Shapiro to me is like the fucking epitome of postmodernity, right? Where Ben Shapiro is just some fucking guy, right? Ben Shapiro is just some guy, right? But then millions of people pretend that he's like this fucking intellectual political giant, right? Because the state of being just some guy got so valorized under postmodernity that anyone could pretend that they were like this fucking amazing fucking giant, right? By the virtue of having a larger following, right? So it was modernism like reduced its component parts, right? Where none of its goals were preserved, but all of its images were preserved, right? And meta-modernity, right, is in that form a reaction to post-modernity, right? It's to an extent the deconstructed version of post-modernity, and you could call it like late post-modernity or like middle post-modernity. And late post-modernity is something that's going to come in the future. I just used the word meta-modernity because like I really like that type of naming scheme. So what I call meta-modernity, right, is just the deconstruction of this postmodernist ideal, right, that everything could be valorized and everything could be like interesting in an artistic way, right? Where in postmodernity, right, or rather meta-modernity is okay. So in postmodernity, eventually everything becoming interesting became the interesting people being pop stars, right? And in meta-modernity, right, the pop stars are once again the common people, quote unquote, right? But they're not the common people of classicalism. They're not the common people of the Industrial Revolution, right? They're the common people of the internet, right? And they're the common people of post-modernity, right? Which is commonly understood as being like, okay, these are like trans people. These are to an extent artists because fucking post-modernity sold art to everyone as something they should participate in, right? So in the state of being meta-modern, right, everything is being sold to you because the average person is no longer the worker, right? Because the worker is dead, right? We just have like the service worker and so on and so on, but no one is in factories working anymore, right? And we understood this to an extent during like post-modernity, but at that point there was the office worker who is also dead now, right? And in the state of meta-modernity, everyone is an artist, right? You can see some random guy working at fucking Subway or fucking McDonald's or fucking any of these fucking large chains, right? Is fucking creating art, right? Is a fucking writer or a musician or so on and so on, right? So many people are like that, right? So the state of being in meta-modernity is a state of having that sold to you, right? Whether it's via 100 gigs, right? Who really, to an extent, is a artistic project meant for artists to appreciate, right? Or whether you have this through the forms of like fucking like artists telling other artists how to make art, and instead of making money from their art, they're making money from telling artists how to make art, which has been a common thing, but right now this is like one of the most viable ways for artists to make money, right? And so on and so on. Like all of these are conditions of what I call meta-modernity. And so why is meta-modernity, if I was to give it like a more strict definition, right? In my really limited analysis, right, meta-modernity is the state of commodifying anything that could have been used as rebellion, right? Meta-modernity is a state of commodifying art, is a state of commodifying even rebellion, right? As you can see in like the infamous Kylie Jenner riot, right? And as you can see even in like the Black Lives Matter protests that were funded by like technological and fucking industrial, like fucking capitalists, right? And the same goes for like Antifa and so on and so on. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a conservative conspiracy to an extent, yeah. But practically speaking, right, fucking like people on the left or liberals rather are talking about how good it is that like these capital giants are putting their support behind like these social movements and so on and so on and so on, right? Like the widespread rainbow capitalism of the current age, right? That's also a condition of meta-modernity, right, to me. So under the condition of meta-modernity, where if you're going to rebel, your rebellion is going to be immediately commercialized, right? No matter how you want to rebel, that's going to be commercialized faster than it can take effect. You can't really rebel in any mass movement type of way, right? If you take direct action, you're gonna have a company commercializing that direct action, no matter what it is, and then you're gonna get way more people participating in a commercialized version of direct action than the amount of people who are actually taking direct action. So eventually your propaganda will die out, right? Your goals and aims will be fucking completely obliterated under the fucking force of this meta modern capitalism. And eventually you'll be reduced back to square one, right? Where you just have one less route for rebellion. And I think over time there are going to be less and less social causes that you can actually promote, right? If you promote communism right now, what's an organization you can join? Antifa. Antifa is functionally, right, very often a capitalist fucking like an assistant to capitalism, right? And the same goes for, like, if you want to support black liberation, you have Black Lives Matter, right? Again, heavily commercialized. If you want to support the LGBT movement, heavily commercialized, right? Every avenue of doing so. So who else are oppressed people, like autistic people? Sure, you can, for now, support that without giving into some corporate power, right? You can support mentally ill people in general, right? But soon enough, I will predict, right? This is just my prediction, is that will once again be impossible, and that will be commercialized, right? You'll have fucking McDonald's being like, yeah, like autistic people, you can try our new chicken nuggets, right? And so on and so on. Like, this is my vision of the future right now. This is just my prediction of everything, right? And in the face of this condition, there is no other rebellion than to just not want anything, than to just drop out and not take any action. Because it is true that if you reduce your desires and don't drop out, that's a horrible state to be in, right? Because at that point, you're just giving in to capitalism. So the important part is that you stop participating in capitalism, right? And you start fucking just distancing yourself from it as much as possible, right? Because capitalism is this compromise, right? Oh, you're gonna be a slave when you're a worker, but you're gonna be a king when you're a consumer, right? This is the supposed compromise of capitalism, right? But if you stop being a consumer and if you stop being a worker, you're just going to be free, right? And it's just like not a worthwhile proposition, right? And you still have to be a consumer to some extent, right? You still have to consume food, right? And you have to have an apartment, right? And you have to have water and electricity, right? But that can be facilitated without you necessarily involving yourself in capitalism. By like the means of welfare and so on and so on and so on, right? And it is true that I have like a keyboard, right? This isn't essential to me. I have fancy monitors, not essential, right? But like these are the only forms of consumption I engage in, right? This is my one vice, right? It's just buying technology. So my point is, right, is if you're going to buy what capitalism commercializes, capitalism is going to commercialize whatever you want, right? And if you want to change capitalism, capitalism is going to change itself to fit into your perceived desires, right? And so in the state of meta-modernity, right, they might eventually outlaw being a need, right? But like I think that's going to be very ineffectual. And I think, if anything, right, this is not like really an optimistic take, but rather this is like what I think is a realistic take. We're just going to run out of jobs soon, right? We're just going to get to a point where no one expects everyone to be employed. So what I think is going to happen is that society is just going to an extent, rectify itself with the fact that there is going to be a perpetual, quote-unquote, neat underclass, right? Because there just isn't going to be enough jobs in the future, and this is a thing that we can see coming. So this is a thing that is likely to be at least lessened by the time it happens, right? So what I think is more likely to happen again, right, is that as more things get automated, it's going to just be easier being a need, right? Maybe, right, you're going to be forced to have an education, right? Maybe if you don't have a job, right, you're going to be forced to fucking be a part of a university or be a part of a community organization or so on and so on and so on, right? But I see that as being unlikely given that these institutions, right, are already really struggling with maintaining their power. So I heavily doubt like something that severe is going to happen. More likely than not, right, it's gonna be like, oh, you need to have this type of education before you can start collecting unemployment, right? It's not like a permanent fucking education type of thing, or hey, if you're unemployed, you're gonna be mandated to do this type of community service for like these hours, but like not a total return to employment, right? It's just like conditional welfare at first. That's at least my assertion, which again isn't perfect neat, but is still sufficient to distance yourself from being a worker or a consumer. And I think this is the only like effective form of rebellion, simply because everything else is going to be eventually sold back at you, and you're like a mass movement of people dropping out is going to be a more significant stress on capitalism and signal to the government that there is going to have to be institutional change, because you're not going to overthrow the government, at least in the current condition, and you're not going to achieve massive social change through a massive social movement anymore, right? Because that's just not going to happen, in my opinion, right? So that's just my conjecture. Might be completely wrong, that's just what I think. My head fucking hurts from Monster Energy, Jesus fucking Christ. Well, this is the grand reveal, the satisfying ending of this video. It's just an apology to my friends for doing that thing. Like, I've really just been super fucking tired lately, and whenever I'm feeling like I feel like this is anything left in there. I've just been fucking exhausted. Right now I'm gonna go to the store, hopefully getting the pink fuels, hopefully get the fruits, and then I just go back home and fall asleep as soon as possible, which is gonna be in a few hours, sadly, but sleep is really catching up with me again. I got some groceries for tomorrow, I got some caffeine pills. I'm fucking golden. Speaking of golden, I have these fucking camel ciggies. Look, they're gold. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna try them out. I've never had camels before. I'll tell you my review, I guess. I'm not a cigarette expert. Young dudes might, why are you smoking? You don't generally smoke. Yeah, that's true. But I think it's a monster, because recently they've just been hitting me like really heavily, right? Because I don't want to be a regular smoker, because that's just inconvenient and annoying. But if the fancy strikes, I'm not one to deny myself the fucking simple ciggy or two. Well, like the thing is, like, why did I try camels, right? Those might is a Marlboro smoker. No, not because of any principled reason, of course. It's just that was the first ones I tried, so that's the ones I've been getting, because I haven't been disappointed in them. With the camel, I'm kind of disappointed, honestly. It feels really good in the hand, right? Marlboro's kind of taut, kind of annoying. These camels, nice and soft, but they smoke like shit, so I'm not gonna fucking try them again. I tried them because they're in my fucking Twitter bio, so I was like, I don't want to be a poser anymore, I'm gonna fucking try it. Wasn't worth it. That's my review. I mean, they're not actually shit, I don't think. I've re-evaluated my opinion. I think they're just not for me, generally, because I prefer smoking to like go insane. And these are, I think these are more suited for just like a relaxing experience. But when I'm smoking, it's just like, okay, please give me fucking insane thing. Like, well, I don't smoke to go insane. It's just like, it's like an accoutrement to going insane. And I think these ones don't really serve as much as that. They're just more like yeah, if you want to have like one, like, I mean, if I was working, right, and if I was taking a break, I would rather smoke one of these, let me say. So I think the context for these particular cigarettes is just different than the one I generally tend to smoke in. Anyway, yeah, I'm fucking up. Don't smoke. Smoking, annoying, not that fun. But if it has its use, it has its context. And currently, I'm in that context, so yeah. That's my thing in Tamils. They're decent, I guess. They're fine.